All right, let's step into the quietly intense world of the Bridge and Biscotti Club. This is a place where, the coffee is strong, the stakes are always high, and a fortune can literally turn on a single subtle signal.
Yeah, this is not just a game of cards. It's a high-stakes conversation. Every bid is a word, every pass is a pause. And if you get it right, you're a hero. Get it wrong, and, well, you're probably buying the next round of Biscotti. So, our story today is all about this fascinating scenario. You've got two different tables in two separate rooms playing the exact same hand of cards. Every single condition is identical, but the outcomes, they are wildly different. And that's the big question we're unpacking. It's a puzzle of communication, of interpretation, and really of a secret code that separates a perfectly fine result from a truly grand one. Okay, let's dive right in.
So, our analysis begins inside the club. I want you to imagine this like it's a controlled experiment. We've got room A and room B, and the setup in each is a perfect mirror of the other.
Now, what's so cool about this is how it just lays the mystery bare. The cards dealt, the same. The vulnerability, which totally affects the scoring, same. Even the dealer is the same. The only things that are different are the players and the conversation they have with their bids.
Okay, so before we can really understand why those results were so different, we need the key, the thing that unlocks this whole puzzle. It's a bridge convention known as fourth suit forcing, or just FSF for short. Now, I know it might sound technical, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple and incredibly powerful. It's basically a tool for asking a very specific kind of question when you're not quite sure where the bidding should go next. So here's the crucial point. When three suits have already been bid, and the responder bids the fourth and final unbid suit, they are not saying they have a lot of cards in that suit. Nope. It's an artificial bid. It's a prearranged signal that says, "Hey partner, I'm strong, but I'm not sure what our best spot is. Tell me more about your hand."
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Think of it less as a statement and more like a polite but firm knock on your partner's door. You're not shouting what you have, you're asking for more intel from them. And that distinction, well, it's everything.
So let's start with a problem that I know every single bridge player has faced. You and your partner started off bidding, things are looking good, you're holding a decent hand, you've got the points, but then it's your turn to bid, and you're just stuck. There's no natural bid that feels right. Let's look at this exact dilemma. Your partner opens one club, you respond one diamond, and they rebid one spade. Now look at your hand. It's beautiful. It's strong enough for game, for sure. But what on earth is your bid? You can't support clubs. Bidding no trump without a spade stopper? That's just asking for trouble. And just bidding your hearts doesn't really do justice to your strength. So what do? You're stuck.
And this is what we call the classic bidding conundrum. You know you have enough to at least think about game, but raising your partner's suit doesn't feel quite right. Rebidding your own seems kind of weak, and bidding non-trump, well, that's a total gamble. Any natural bid you make could send your partner completely the wrong message.
Okay, so take a look at this sequence. This happens all the time. Imagine your partner opens a diamond, you respond with a spade, and they come back with two clubs. And there you are as the responder, holding, let's say, 11 points. You can't raise clubs, you don't have enough spades to rebid them, and you definitely don't have a stopper in hearts for no trump. So, what do?
Well, guess what? There's this incredible solution to this exact problem. It's like a secret code you can use with your partner, a bid we call fourth suit forcing, or FSF for short, and it's designed specifically for this moment of total uncertainty.
So going back to our example, the last suit that nobody's bid is hearts. Using fourth suit forcing, you'd now bid two hearts. And this is the key thing. You're not bidding two hearts because you actually have hearts. No, you're bidding it to send a very, very specific message. And this is exactly what that artificial bid is saying. It's basically a big flashing sign that says, "Hey partner, hold on. Don't pass. I've got a good hand here. We've got something going, but I really need you to tell me more about your hand before we can figure out where we're going." Okay, so you've sent this secret signal, but what information are you really sending? And what are you asking for? Let's break down exactly what this bid means. First things first, you were promising strength. The standard for a fourth suit forcing bid is that you have at least game invitational values. We're talking about, 10, 12, or more high card points. You're telling your partner that game is definitely on the table. So boom, your partner instantly knows three really important things. Number one, this auction is now forcing. They cannot pass. Number two, you need more information to figure out where to play. And number three, you use this special bid because you just didn't have a simple, easy, natural bid available. All right, now this is absolutely the most crucial point. If you remember one thing from this, let it be this. Your fourth suit forcing bid has nothing to do with the suit you actually say out loud. You could have a singleton, a doubleton, heck, you could even have a void in that suit. It is purely 100% artificial.
Okay, so the signal's out there. Your partner gets it, you have points, you need more info, now the ball is totally in their court. How should the opener respond to this very specific request? So your partner's job is to paint a better picture of their hand, and they've got a very specific to-do list. The first thing, the top priority, is to show 3-card support for your major if they have it. That's usually the best news. If they can't do that, their next check is a stopper in the 4th suit to suggest no trump. If that doesn't work, they can rebid one of their own suits to show extra length. And way down at the bottom of the list is raising the 4th suit itself. They only do that if they actually have a real strong holding there. All right, let's talk about taking this to the next level, using this tool like a pro. Because like any good convention, you and your partner have to be on the same page about a few key details to really make it work. Now, this is a big one. You have to agree on whether this bid is forcing for just one round or if it's forcing all the way to game. The modern, standard way to play it is this. If you use 4th suit forcing at the 2 level, it's only forcing for 1 round. That gives you an out. But if you have to go all the way to the 3 level to make your FSF bid, that is pretty much always agreed to be 100% forcing to game. So let's bring it all together. Why are you even using this tool? What's the point? Well, you're using it to solve a problem. You're asking your partner really specific questions, like, hey, do you have a stopper over there for no trump? Or, please tell me you have 3 cards in my major so we can find our fit. Ultimately, you use FSF when you know you have enough for game, but you just don't know where that game should be.
Okay, let's see priority 1 in action. You bid hearts, opener rebid spades, and you make that FSF bid of 2 diamonds. When opener now bids 2 hearts, they are practically shouting, I have 3 cards support for your hearts. This is the best news ever. You've just found your golden 5-3 major suit fit. Jackpot.
Now, in this auction, your FSF bid was 2 hearts. When opener responds to no trump, they're actually giving you 2 pieces of information at once. First, they're saying, sorry, partner, no 3-card spade support. But second, and this is crucial, they're promising a stopper in hearts, the very suit you just bid artificially. So now, no trump is looking like a great contract. So what happens when the opener just can't do one of the first 2 things? Here, after your FSF bid of 2 clubs, opener can't support your hearts, and they don't have a club stopper for no trump. So, they just have to default to priority number 3, rebid their own suit. It's their way of describing their hand shape a little more, in this case showing you they've got some extra length in diamonds. Of course, a huge part of using any convention is knowing when not to use it. FSF is an amazing problem solver, but it's definitely not something you should use in every situation.
And the main takeaway here is pretty simple. FSF is for solving a problem. It's not for creating one. If you have a simple, natural bid that describes your hand perfectly, like you can just raise your partner's suit or you can bid no trump naturally, always just do that. Keep it simple. Don't use a fancy tool when a simple one works just fine.
Okay, let's pull all these pieces together. Think of this as your quick reference guide, your master key for using 4th suit forcing and making it work with your partner. All right, this table is your go-to guide. Remember when to activate it? After 3 suits have been bid at the 1 level. And the strength, right? You gotta have at least 10 I-card points. But the most important part is that strict priority list for the opener. It's non-negotiable. Always look for major suit support first. Then a stopper for no trump, and only then describe your own shape. Having a clear agreement on this is what makes FSF so powerful. If you forget all the little details, just remember this one simple phrase. When you bid the 4th suit, you're sending a very clear message to your partner. And that message is, I'm strong, but I don't know where we should play. Help me choose the best contract. Ultimately, you have to remember that FSF is a partnership tool. Its real power isn't just unlocked by you knowing the rules, but by you and your partner discussing them. That shared understanding is what turns this from just some neat idea into a reliable, game-winning weapon in your bidding arsenal.
Look, 4-suit forcing is without a doubt one of the most useful tools you can have in bridge. It turns what could be a total guess into a logical, step-by-step conversation.
It takes a dead-end auction and just opens up a whole new set of possibilities for finding your best contract. So the real question is, are you ready to add this secret code to your game?
Let's go see how this plays out in a real hand. We'll start in room A, where our partners Tom and Robert are about to have a very important, and as it turns out, a very confusing conversation. Okay, so look at this sequence. Clubs, diamonds, and spades have all been mentioned. Now Robert, who's holding a strong hand but is unsure of the best fit, bids 2 hearts, the fourth and final unbid suit. He is knocking on the door. The question is, does Tom hear it?
And the answer is nope, not at all. Tom takes the bid completely literally. He sees 2 hearts and thinks, great, partner's got hearts. He looks at his own cards, sees pretty good support with the king and queen, and gets excited. He has completely missed the secret message. And this, right here, is the fork in the road. Tom in room A hears a statement, I have hearts. But in room B, as we're about to see, that exact same bid is correctly heard as a question, tell me more. This single difference in interpretation changes the entire game.
So after some scrambling based on this big misunderstanding, Tom and Robert end up in a contract of 5 diamonds. They actually make it with an overtrick, scoring 620 points. And, on the surface, that looks pretty good, right? But could they have done better?
Let's step across the hall to room B. Mildred's and George are holding the exact same cards. But here, the story unfolds not with lucky guesses, but with the precision of a surgeon.
Look at that. The start is identical. 1 club, 1 diamond, 1 spade. And then, just like in room A, the responder, George, makes that same conventional bid of 2 hearts. He knocks on the door.
But here's the game-changing difference. Mildred's hears the knock. She knows 2 hearts isn't about hearts. It's a question. Specifically, George is asking, hey, can you stop the opponents from running the heart suit if we play in no trump? And she looks at her king-queen of hearts and knows the answer.
And from that one moment of pure clarity, this beautiful, logical conversation just unfolds. Mildred's answers yes by bidding 2 no trump. George, now knowing their hands fit perfectly, uses other conventions to ask about aces and kings. Within just a few bids, they've shared all the critical information and confirmed they hold all the key cards.
And the result of that conversation? A confident bid of 6 no trump. That's a small slam. There's no guesswork here, no crossed signals. They played the hand flawlessly, taking 12 tricks, just like their precise communication told them they would.
And their score? A massive 1440 points. Wow! Not just a good result, that is a grand result. More than double what the team in room B got with the exact same cards.
So, what can we take away from this tale of 2 tables? It's a really powerful lesson, isn't it? It's about the value of asking the right question instead of just making a quick assumption.
I mean, this chart just says it all. The bar on the left, that's room A, an assumption that led to 620 points. The bar on the right, that's room B, clear communication that unlocked the hand's full potential for a score of 1440. The difference is just stark, and it all came down to understanding one single bid.
Table A, with the misunderstanding, they get a respectable 620. But Table B, using a disciplined, systematic approach, scores a whopping 1440. The difference is just staggering.
820 points. Let that sink in for a second. That was the swing, on one hand. That was literally the value of a shared language, the difference between a wild guess and a careful, systematic investigation. This is what Robert told his partner Tom after the hand was over, and it's the perfect summary of the mistake. Tom heard a definitive statement when he should have heard an open-ended question. He heard an answer when he was really being asked to provide one.
So why was the conventional approach so much better? Let's really break down the key differences and pull out the lessons from this tale of two tables.
This table just lays it all out so clearly. You see at Table A, the response to that key bid was just a guess, an assumption about a fit that wasn't really there. It led to guesswork, a messy correction, and ultimately a missed opportunity. But at Table B, the response was a direct answer to a specific question. That opened the door to a systematic investigation where they exchanged precise information and, because of that, they found and bid a slam that was right there waiting for them. So what can we all take away from this? Well, first, tools like force-suit forcing are incredibly powerful for finding the absolute best contract. Second, giving a simple answer, like that 2NT bid, keeps the bidding low and leaves your options open. And third, you have to have clear, agreed-upon conventions for asking about aces and kings. That's what turns a good game into a great slam. A single missed signal can absolutely be the difference between a good score and a top score.
And that really leaves us with a final question that goes way beyond the bridge table, doesn't it? In any collaboration, any team, any kind of partnership, how much is a shared language, a true, deep understanding of what the other person is trying to say, really worth? Well, on this day, at the Bridge and Biscotti Club, the answer was 820 points.
Subscribe our channel for more videos.